Reading from Seth-Dreams and Projections of Consciousness by Jane Roberts. From Chapter 19, Out-of-Body Experiences from the Dream State. Seth on Dream Bodies, Session 261. For all practical purposes, you will usually find yourself in some sort of body form in your out-of-body experiences. These are a necessary camouflage, for you cannot think of your identity without some kind of body, so you project such a form. It varies according to your abilities, and without it, you would feel lost indeed. The form itself is not important, but it can tell you something about the dimension in which you are having the experience. The dream body is the one which you are most familiar. It has been called the astral body. It strikes you as being physical when you are in it, but you can do things with it that cannot be done ordinarily. You can levitate, for example. As a rule, however, you do not go through walls with this body. This is the body you use for ordinary dreams. Levitation is possible with it, but on a limited basis. When you enter a different dimension, the abilities of the body form change, and for all intents and purposes, it is a different body form, which we will now call a mind form. It still seems physical in shape, but you can walk through physical matter with it. You can levitate much more freely, traveling within the solar system, but you cannot go further with it. In the first form, it is possible to perceive the past, present, or future on a limited basis. The second form, this perception is increased, the scope of consciousness widened. This is the form you will use if you meet by appointment with others in the dream state. Now, the third we may call the true projection form. In it, it is possible to travel beyond your solar system and to perceive the past, present, and futures of other systems as well as your own. The various forms that you use do not indicate your experience, however. You may begin in one form and change to another, or go from the first to the third. On such occasions, you must pass through in reverse direction on returning. The forms merely represent stages of consciousness. At physical death after the last reincarnation, then the normal form is the dream body, and excursions are made from this point. It is possible, as mentioned, to suddenly switch from the third form to the dream body, but with a considerable jolt to consciousness. There are indeed others who can help you in such experiences, and they can be of great assistance as guides. You will find projections much easier if your head is to the north. One small point here. Rupert's waking projection upon first reading the Fox book was also legitimate, as he should know. Okay, so Seth was referring to something that happened, an incident that happened with Jane, and she's going to briefly describe it right here. She says, though waking projections will not generally be discussed in this book, devoted to dreams and related material, she's going to discuss it. I was so reassured by Fox's experiences that I instantly tried to project from a waking state. I lay down on the bed to support my body, closed my eyes, and used all my willpower to eject myself out. Almost at once, and I must admit, much to my astonishment, I succeeded. There was a wrench, almost painful, a click at the back of my neck, and I found myself flying through a window at seemingly incredible speeds, out of the house at second-floor level, gaining altitude and heading over Water Street toward the mountains in the distance. My head felt bursting with pressure. Fully alert and conscious, I was terrified of falling. Here, as I told Rob later, the brave experimenter quite simply panicked. I was scared stiff. I'd bitten off quite a bit more than I could chew. At the moment I panicked, I was suddenly pulled backward through the air faster than I'd come, if that was possible. This frightened me more than the forward flight. This time there was a strange, very loud noise like the magnified twang of a rubber band or cable that seemed to be reeling me back in. I actually hit my physical body with a shock, my physical head and neck banging up and down on the pillow, so that my shoulders and neck were stiff for a week. I realized only later that the cord or cable I'd felt was the astral cord. The experience put me off enough that, for some time following, I always used a light trance or dream framework for projections. Now, Seth said, the actual physical window was behind his head. He felt impelled to have a window in front of him in order to get out of the physical house. And the window through which he went was a fabrication of his own, a symbol. I found this amusing. He did not have the confidence, you see, to see himself passing through the physical walls, as he did in fact. Instead, he formed the imaginary window and projected through it. Now, when you project from the dream body, consciously, you are already outside of the physical one. You have already made the initial change away from physical focus. The mass of valid projections are made from the dreaming body. When the excursion is over, the return to the dream body is made with no strain, for the ego is little concerned. In many such cases, however, the knowledge is not available to the waking self. As you become more accustomed to the experience, the waking self will recall more and more and not become frightened. When you panicked this time from the waking condition, the experience ended. If the waking self had not been taken along in this particular manner, the journey would have continued. Jay notes right here that that particular experience was my most shocking, and I'm just as glad it happened in the beginning. Later, I always specified that I wanted to get out of my body in my room or apartment or go to another specific location. Very rarely do you go wide awake speeding out of your body like a rocket. Dream projections are quite different in any case, and the ego is already protected, as mentioned by Seth. I'm going to end this reading right here, but there will be a part 2 to this chapter. So if you want to hear the rest of this, go to part 2.